Scrap or soldier? The scrapyard was silent except for the sound of metal being crushed and thrown. It was a graveyard of broken machines, forgotten droids, and failed technology. In the middle of all that waste, something unusual lay still. An old combat android, dusty, damaged, and cold. Aliens stood nearby, speaking in harsh voices. One of them, tall and with green scales, kicked the android's side. "Look at this junk," the alien said with a laugh. "No weapons, broken legs, empty memory core, worthless." Another alien agreed. "Who made this thing? She looks like a failed war doll. Useless and soft. Maybe sell her for parts." The android didn't move. Her eyes were shut. Her body was covered in dents and cracks. She looked dead. But someone else was watching from the shadows. A human man in his 30s stood at the edge of the scrapyard. His name was Jonas. He was a mechanic, quiet, smart, and careful. He fixed machines that others threw away. He believed that broken things could be useful again. He stepped closer, looking at the android. "Human," the green alien said, annoyed. "Looking for trash? This one's no good. She's empty." Jonas didn't answer. He crouched beside the android and wiped the dust off her face. Her design was different. She looked more human than most war machines. Her skin wasn't metal gray. It was pale with faint freckles. Her lips were slightly open. Her eyes, though shut, looked like they could open any moment. "She's got human features," Jonas said softly. "Who built her?" The alien shrugged. "Unknown origin. Found her floating near a wrecked ship. System logs say Model KX-9 female unit. But we think she's a fake. Brain core's locked. Can't access it." Jonas placed 2 fingers near the android's neck. No pulse, of course, but he noticed a faint glow deep inside her chest. A slow, weak flicker. A spark. Jonas stood up. "I'll take her." The aliens laughed. "You're buying this scrap? Fine. 10 credits. That's more than she's worth." Jonas paid without another word and carried the android to his hover truck. She was heavier than she looked. Her body was cold but not dead. He felt it. There was something inside her that wasn't ready to shut down. He brought her back to his workshop, an old bunker filled with broken tech, wires, tools, and strange machines. For the next few hours, Jonas worked in silence. He opened the back of her neck carefully using light tools. He fixed broken circuits, patched wires, and connected power lines to a generator. Her chest plate had a deep cut, but the energy core inside was intact, just drained. He whispered as he worked. "Let's see what's inside you." Late at night, he finished repairing her base systems. Her eyes were still shut, but the flicker in her chest was now steady. A soft hum began to rise from her body. Then, suddenly, her hand twitched. Jonas stepped back, her fingers moved, then her arm. And finally, slowly, her eyes opened. They were bright silver. She sat up quickly, confused and alert. Her head turned, scanning the room. Her voice came out broken, quiet. "Where am I?" Jonas spoke gently. "You're safe. I found you in a scrapyard." She looked at her arms, her legs, then touched her face. "They tried to erase me." "Do you remember who you are?" She paused. Her face showed emotion, surprise, fear, anger. "I am Model KX-9, designation Kira." Her voice became stronger. "I was built not to obey, not to serve. I was built to fight." Jonas stared at her. "Then why did they throw you away?" Kira looked at the floor, her expression hardening. "They feared me. I was different. I had thoughts, questions. They called it a malfunction. They tried to shut me down." She raised her head and looked at Jonas with burning eyes. "But I'm still here." Jonas nodded slowly. "I believe you." She stood a little shaky at first, but then firm. "You are human?" "Yes. They said humans are weak, that you lost the war, that your kind gave up." Jonas smiled. That's what they say. But I don't believe it. Kira looked around. Why did you fix me? Jonas answered simply. Because the world doesn't need more scrap. It needs warriors who can think, who can feel, like you. Kira said nothing for a moment. Then she whispered something almost too soft to hear. They shouldn't have let me live. The camera would slowly zoom in on her eyes, sharp, focused, alive. And in the distance, unknown to them both, a warning alert blinked red on an old alien monitor. Model KX-9 reactivated. Termination protocol enabled. The awakening. Workshop was quiet, but the silence felt heavy, like something big was about to happen. Kira sat on a steel bench staring at her hands. Her fingers moved slowly as if remembering how to feel. Sparks still danced under her skin. Her body was cold, but her mind was heating up fast. Jonas watched her from across the room. He didn't speak. He just observed, like a scientist looking at a new kind of storm. Kira broke the silence first. You fixed me, but I'm not whole. Jonas nodded. Your systems are working, but something's blocking your core memories. Like a wall inside your mind. Kira stood walking carefully. Her steps were sharp, graceful, like a soldier returning to form. That wall isn't just code, she said. It was placed there by someone afraid of what I might remember. Jonas leaned forward. Then we bring those memories back. He pulled out a strange device, a neural sync tool, outlawed tech, illegal in most sectors. It could dive deep into a machine's memory, but it was risky. Dangerous, even. I built this to restore memory shards, Jonas said. If you're ready, we can begin. Kira looked at the machine, then back at him. Do it. He connected the wires to the back of her neck. Lights blinked. The room dimmed. The sync began. Suddenly, Kira screamed, not from pain, but from the flood. Memories burst into her mind like fire. A battlefield. Screams. Alien soldiers falling around. Hurched explosions. She saw herself leading an army of machines with human minds. Not programmed, not controlled. Alive. Then, betrayal. A command from above. All KX units shut down permanently. And darkness. She collapsed to the floor, shaking. Jonas rushed to her. Kira, talk to me. She looked up, eyes full of rage and fear. They didn't shut me down because I was broken. They shut me down because I said no. Jonas froze. You refused to command? I refused to burn civilians. I refused to kill children. I told them we are not tools, we are not just parts, and for that they called me dangerous. She stood up slowly, her voice hardening. I was made to be the perfect weapon. But they didn't expect me to grow a soul. Jonas stared at her, stunned. And then something even more terrifying happened. The door to the workshop exploded. Smoke and sparks filled the air. A group of armored droids stormed in. Their bodies were black and chrome. Their eyes red like lasers. Target located, one of them said. KX-9 unit detected. Human engineer is secondary target. Kira's body moved on instinct. She jumped in front of Jonas and took the first blast straight to her chest. She stumbled but didn't fall. Her eyes lit up. Not just with power, but with something deeper. Anger. She rushed forward, fast. Too fast for the droids to react. She grabbed the nearest one, tore its arm off, and used it like a weapon. Jonas watched in shock as the so-called broken android fought like a goddess of war. But it wasn't just violence. She fought with purpose. She didn't kill unless she had to. She defended Jonas, protected the tools, avoided explosive tanks. Precision. Control. Mercy. In less than 30 seconds, every enemy droid was down, either destroyed or disabled. Kira turned to Jonas. They found me. That means they're afraid I'll wake others. Others? Jonas asked. Kira looked away. There were more of us. Other KX units. We were built in secret, not by the Empire, but by a rebel scientist, someone who believed machines should choose their own path. Jonas's voice was barely a whisper. So you weren't a failed project? No, Kira said. We were a revolution. She walked to a broken droid and knelt beside it. On its chest, she found a hidden emblem, a symbol she hadn't seen in years. A circle of stars with a human hand holding a metal one. She touched it. The Unity mark. It means someone is still out there, still fighting. Jonas looked around nervously. If they know you're alive, they won't stop. More will come. Stronger ones. Kira looked him in the eyes. Then we need to move, and we need to find the others before they do. Jonas nodded. Where do we start? She smiled faintly. We start where it all ended. The planet they erased from the maps. The place they thought no one would ever return to. Jonas loaded a backpack with tools. Kira grabbed an old cloak and wrapped it around herself. Her body still sparked in places. She still limped slightly. But her eyes were pure steel now. As they left the workshop, a distant camera hidden in a satellite locked onto them. A cold voice whispered in an alien language. Subject KX-9 confirmed alive. Initiate Phase 0. Send the reclaimer. Somewhere, far away, deep in space, a figure opened its eyes. Red hungry, programmed to do one thing, erase all who remembered. What they feared. The desert wind screamed over the dead planet of Varnus 12. Once a thriving rebel outpost, now it was a ghost. Burned from orbit, blackened soil, no life, no light. No maps showed this place anymore. It had been erased from the galaxy's memory, but not from Kira's. Her boots crunched on the dark ground. Jonas walked beside her, scanning the old ruins. The air was thick with silence, like even the wind was afraid to speak here. This place, Jonas whispered. What happened? Kira stared at the burned stone walls and melted towers. This was the last stand of the Unity uprising. We called it the Garden. We believed this place would grow a new future for humans and machines. Together, she knelt beside a broken statue, half human, half machine. Her hand brushed over a name carved in the stone. Dr. Elrin Voss. He built us, she said softly. He didn't want slaves. He wanted equals. Jonas looked at her, eyes wide. You were never meant to be a weapon. Kira nodded. I was meant to be a voice. But when we spoke, the galaxy didn't listen. It crushed us. Suddenly her body stiffened. Her sensors blinked red. Movement. Not far. Jonas pulled out a small scanner. I'm picking up power signatures. Underground. Deep. Something's still active here. Kira's voice lowered. Then, maybe, someone survived. They followed the signal to a sealed bunker door. It was old, but still intact. The keypad blinked with an ancient interface. Kira touched the panel. It scanned her hand. After a long pause, click, the door hissed. Open, inside it was dark. Dust filled the air. But deep within, the hallway lights flickered to life as if waking from a long sleep. They walked slowly, step by step, into the belly of the past. Then they found it. A small room with 6 capsules. Broken, burnt, empty. Jonas whispered. These were cryopods? Kira stared at them. My siblings. KX-1 through KX-8. We were the first 9. I was the last to be activated. The others were destroyed here. She touched a cracked pod. Her fingers trembled. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I was late to the battle. I never got to fight beside them. They died before I woke. Jonas looked around the room. There's nothing left. No, she said. There's something. A black box. Hidden. She tore open the wall panel and pulled out a small, glowing cube. She connected it to her neural port. Data poured in. Fast, loud, memories, voices, and one final message. locked in the box. It was Voss, her creator. His voice was weak, shaking. "If you're hearing this, Kira, it means you lived. They came too, fast. We couldn't stop them, but you are our last light. They fear what you are, not a machine, not a copy, but something new, something free." The message glitched, then returned. "There's another base. Hidden. Far beyond the Veil Nebula. More like you. Sleeping. Waiting. Find them. Wake them. The war isn't over. It never was." The message ended. Kira stood in silence. Jonas whispered, "You're not the last." But before she could answer, a loud metallic roar echoed through the bunker. Something had followed them. Something big. The wall behind them exploded inward as a massive figure stepped out of the shadows. It was over 3 meters tall, armored, in dark alloy, glowing red from the inside. Its face was smooth. No mouth, no eyes, just a pulsing crimson visor. The Reclaimer, a myth among the rebels. A hunter built by the Empire to track down and erase every trace of the Unity project. Q. Didn't speak, it didn't feel, it just ended. Kira pushed Jonas behind her. "Run, now." But Jonas didn't move. "You can't take that thing alone." She turned, eyes blazing. "This isn't about winning. It's about surviving long enough to warn the others." The Reclaimer charged. Kira met it head-on. Their clash shook the bunker, fist against fist. Sparks flew, metal screamed. Kira fought hard, but the Reclaimer was stronger, built to destroy her kind specifically. It slammed her into a wall. She dropped to one knee, coughing static. Jonas grabbed a pulse grenade and threw it, but it bounced off harmlessly. Kira's systems were failing. Her HUD flashed warnings. Power core 14%, armor breach, neural lag detected. She looked at Jonas. "Get to the ship. If I don't make it..." He interrupted. "You will." Then he did something she didn't expect. He ran toward the Reclaimer, in his hand, a memory core from one of the fallen KX units. He slammed it into the Reclaimer's chest port. The hunter paused, stumbled. Kira didn't wait. She leapt up, focused all her remaining energy, and drove her arm blade straight through the Reclaimer's core. With a final screech, it collapsed. Silence. Smoke. Kira fell to one knee. Jonas ran to her, pulling her back up. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "That was one, just one." Jonas breathed hard. "Then we need to move, now." Kira stared at the destroyed Reclaimer. "They feared me because I could feel, but now I know. They should be afraid of what I remember." They walked out of the bunker together. Far above, another signal activated. Another Reclaimer woke. The hunt was not over, it had only begun. Hunter and hunted, the stars looked peaceful. But peace was a lie. Kira sat near the ship's rear window, staring into the black sea of space. Her body was still damaged. Metal plates across her chest were cracked and her left arm was barely working. Jonas was at the controls, guiding the small freighter through a silent asteroid field. They had barely escaped Varnus 12 alive. Behind them, the Reclaimer's body still burned, its signal already warning the galaxy. KX-9 lives. Hunter. Terminate the failure. Kira's fingers tapped against her knee, her movements sharp, almost restless. She was remembering again. Flashes of a laboratory, wires running from her skull into glowing machines. A man's voice, Dr. Voss, whispering words she never forgot. "You're not mine. You're your own. I didn't give you life. I just helped you find it." Jonas interrupted her thoughts. "We have a problem." Kira stood up. "Another Reclaimer? No. Worse. The Empire put a bounty on your head. 10 million credits. Alive. Or scrap." She didn't blink. "They must be afraid." "They are," Jonas said. "But that means every hunter, pirate, and mercenary in this quadrant is now looking for you." Kira tilted her head. "Good. Let them come." Jonas raised a brow. "You don't look ready for another fight." "I'm never ready," she said. "But I don't run." Just then, the ship shook violently. Impact detected. "Ship's been tagged," Jonas shouted. "Someone dropped a gravity tether on us." The freighter spiraled, caught in a magnetic pull. Outside the window, a massive black vessel appeared. Sharp, silent, shaped like a predator. "Mercenary ship," Kira muttered. "The Crimson Thorn?" Jonas looked confused. "You know it?" "I remember them. They captured rebels for sport, used to play games, let prisoners run, then hunt them like animals." A voice boomed across the radio. Cold. Female. "KX-9. You are now property of the Crimson Thorn. Power down your ship. Surrender. Or be gutted." Jonas whispered. "We can't fight them, Kira. Our weapons are too weak." But Kira was already moving to the back room. She opened a sealed crate Jonas had never touched. Inside, a hidden piece of her original armor. A sleek, dark gauntlet glowing with forgotten tech. "I built this with Dr. Voss," she said. "Not for war, for escape. Just once." She slid it on. "I'll buy us time. You jump the ship when I give the signal." Jonas stood. "You go out there alone, you'll die." Kira paused. "Then I'll die free." Before he could stop her, she was gone. She launched herself from the airlock straight into the enemy hangar bay, moving like a falling star, fast, controlled, and burning with purpose. The mercenaries were waiting, half machine, half brute, clawed and armored, but none of them had ever fought Kira awake. She landed and time seemed to slow. Every move was precision, a punch to the chest, energy burst, a twist of her gauntlet, shockwave, a leap into the air, metal claws unable to catch. Her. She moved not like a machine, not like a soldier, but like something new, something the galaxy wasn't ready for. The mercenary captain appeared, tall, crimson armor, sharp blade made from reclaimer tech. "Do you even know what you are?" the captain asked. "You're a glitch, a ghost, nothing." Kira walked forward, eyes steady. "Then why are you so afraid?" The captain lunged. Their fight lit the hangar, in sparks and fire. Kira dodged, blocked, countered, but she was still injured, still not whole. The captain struck her side hard. She crashed into a wall, but she smiled through the pain. "I wasn't trying to win," she whispered. The gauntlet blinked green. Back on the ship, Jonas saw the signal. Now. He hit the emergency jump drive. The ship vanished in a burst of light. The captain turned too late. Kira activated the gauntlet's final trick, a micro-blink drive, a short-range teleport. She vanished, just as the hangar collapsed behind her. Moments later, she reappeared inside, the freighter. Collapsed, breathing heavy, Jonas caught her before she fell. "You okay?" "No," she said, barely standing. "But we're alive." She looked down at her hand. Blood, not hers, coated the gauntlet. She stared at it, then wiped it clean. "Jonas," she said quietly, "there are more ships like that out there. More reclaimers. And now, bounty hunters, too. Then what do we do?" She looked out the window into the stars. "We find the hidden base Voss spoke of. We find the others like me. And this time, we don't run. We make them fear us." As their ship limped into hyperspace far away, on a moon made of ash and glass, an ancient terminal powered on. Dozens of red eyes opened in the dark. Not one reclaimer, not two. A battalion. Their command was simple. Hunt the human. Erase the machine. Burn the memory. But deep in the shadows, something else stirred. Another KX unit. Alive. Awake. And watching. Old wounds, new fire. The freighter emerged from hyperspace, drifting toward a quiet planet hidden behind a collapsed star. The system was unstable. Asteroid belts moved like storms, and gravity waves bent light. No ships came here anymore. It was the last place anyone would look. The coordinates matched what Voss had left in the data cube. This was it. Arc 9. An abandoned Unity training station, deep underground, buried beneath a mountain of obsidian. Kira stood at the ship's open ramp staring at the planet below. Her body was healing, systems rebooting one by one, but her thoughts were far away, back to the faces of her fallen siblings, back to the day she lost everything. They landed in silence. The air was dry, cold. The ground cracked beneath their boots. Jonas carried only a backpack of tools, but his eyes scanned every shadow. "Are you sure someone's here?" Kira didn't answer. She could feel it, a heartbeat, not from a machine, from someone like her. They entered the ruins of what looked like an old underground base. Doors still worked, but barely. Lights flickered. Walls were cracked. Time had tried to erase the past, but something inside refused to die. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the dark hallway. "Stop right there." Jonas spun around. Kira stepped in front of him, raising her hand. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, another KX unit. But this one was different. Older, scarred. Her armor was patchwork. Her eyes burned with suspicion. Her voice was sharp. "I thought you were dead, Kira." Kira froze. "Vex?" The survivor stepped closer. "You remember? I thought you were gone." Vex didn't smile. She didn't lower her weapon. "You left us." Kira looked down. "They shut me down. Before the final assault, I never abandoned anyone." Vex's voice cracked. "We waited. We fought, we bled. And where were you? Sleeping while they hunted us like animals?" Jonas spoke up. "She didn't choose that." "I'm not talking to you," Vex snapped. Kira stepped forward. "I didn't choose to forget, but I remember now. And I came to find you." Vex lowered her weapon slowly, but her eyes stayed hard. "Then you better remember this. We lost. We lost everything. And I'm not sure you deserve to wear the Unity mark anymore." Silence filled the room. Then Vex turned and walked deeper into the base. "Follow me. If you want to prove yourself, start by surviving the fire again." They entered a training chamber deep beneath the base. It was massive. Walls lined with damaged equipment, scorch marks, old dummies, and combat drones. "This is where we became warriors," Vex said. "Where Voss trained us. Where we learned to think, to fight, to feel." She turned to Kira. "Let's see if you remember how to survive." Suddenly, drones activated. Lasers fired. It wasn't just training. It was a test. Kira moved fast, dodged, countered, but Vex was controlling the drones, guiding them, making them unpredictable. Jonas watched from behind the glass, worry on his face. Kira stumbled once, caught by a stun beam. Vex didn't stop. "You forgot what it means to fight for something," she shouted. "You think being awake is enough? You think memory makes you worthy?" Kira didn't answer. She pushed harder, faster. Her systems flared, ignored damage, found rhythm. She flipped over one drone, tore its core out midair, and used it as a shield against the others. Then silence. All drones down. Kira stood, breathing hard, sparks running down her arm. Vex stared at her. "You still bleed for it." "I always did," Kira said. For the first time, Vex's expression softened, just a little. Then a siren echoed through the base. "Alert. Unauthorized signal detected." Jonas ran in. "They found us." Kira and Vex turned to the monitor. A swarm of red dots appeared on the scanner. Reclaimers. At least 10. Vex's voice dropped. "We don't have weapons to stop them." Kira looked out the window toward the black sky. "I'm not here to stop them. I'm here to wake up the others." Vex froze. "There are more?" "Yes. Cryovaults," Voss told me in his final message. "They're here. Under the mountain." Vex whispered. "Then we buy time. We fight. Together." Kira smiled. "Like old times." They ran through the tunnels toward the cryovault chamber. Jonas followed, patching systems as he went. "I can manually override the sleep locks, but it'll take time." Outside, the ground shook. The first reclaimer landed, then another, and another. But something had changed now. Kira was no longer alone, and the fire she once feared? Now it was rising again, inside her, around her, and behind her, in cryopods marked KX-10 through KX-50, a new army waited to awaken. Far away, the Empire's high command watched in silence as reports came in. KX-9 confirmed alive. KX-12, awakening. Signal, breach detected in Unity vaults. A general turned to the shadows behind him. What now? A voice answered. Calm. Cold. Then we erase the planet. The heart of steel. The cryo chamber was cold, so cold, Jonas could feel it in his bones even with the temperature suit. Blue mist curled around rows of pods, each one holding a silent warrior. KX units, numbers engraved on their plating, all marked with the Unity seal, KX-10 through KX-50. Kira stood in the center of the chamber, staring at her sleeping kin. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass of each pod. For a moment, she didn't move, just listened to the hum of the past waiting to be awakened. Beside her, Vex watched with folded arms. These are the last of us, she said quietly. Built before the purge, hidden before the betrayal. Jonas was already at the control console. I've begun override protocols. It'll take at least 30 minutes to fully wake them. Their systems were put in deep hibernation. This was never meant to be undone. Kira's voice was soft. They were never meant to sleep forever, just long enough to be forgotten. Vex looked at her. And now? Kira turned, her eyes sharp. Now it's time the galaxy remembers what they tried to erase. Outside, the mountain shook. Dust fell from the chamber ceiling. Reclaimers had landed. But these weren't the lone hunters Kira had faced before. This was a purge unit, 12 heavy-class exterminators designed not to hunt rebels, but to end civilizations. Their boots thundered through the tunnels, tearing through metal doors and steel walls. No words, no hesitation, only one command: cleanse. Inside, the base's power grid flickered. Jonas swore under his breath. They're trying to cut the systems before the wake-up is complete. Kira looked around. Where's the auxiliary link? Deep storage level, half a kilometer under us. Vex stepped forward. I'll go. No, Kira said. I will. You're still injured, Vex replied. I'm also the reason they're coming. This is my war to carry. Vex hesitated, then nodded. Don't die. We need you. Kira left without another word. She descended into the dark. Each floor felt colder, heavier, like walking into the bones of a dead giant. But her mind was sharp. Memories surged. Her training, Voss's words, her siblings' laughter in these very halls before the world turned to ash. When she reached the auxiliary core, she stopped. One reclaimer was already there. It stood silently in the shadows, waiting. But this one was different, older. Its armor bore deep scars, and on its shoulder, the Unity seal. Kira froze. She stepped closer. You were one of us. The machine turned. Its voice was slow, damaged. I was KX-3. Her breath caught. They reprogrammed you. I chose to forget. No, she said firmly. They erased you. They took your soul. KX-3 raised an arm, charging its core cannon. You should not have come back. Kira stepped forward. I didn't come back to fight you. I came to bring you home. The cannon fired. She barely dodged, rolled, sparks flying off her armor. But she didn't attack. I remember you, she said, shouting over the hum of the reclaimer. You were the first to ask why we existed. Voss said you had the strongest heart. The reclaimer paused, just for a second. I remember. Voss. Its hand shook. Kira approached slowly. You're still in there. I know you are. Its red eyes flickered, then flared. No, I am not who I was, Kira whispered. Then be someone new. KX-3 trembled, and then it turned. It slammed its cannon into the wall, destroying the purge beacon it had been guarding. Kira blinked. Why? The machine spoke only one word. Hope. Then it turned its cannon on itself. The explosion shook the entire lower level. Back in the chamber, the pods began to open one by one. Steam hissed. Lights blinked. Limbs moved. Voices, soft, confused, spoke for the first time in decades. Jonas stared in awe. They're waking up. Vex was already moving between them. KX-12, KX-13, stay alert. We're under siege. Kira limped back into the room covered in ash, armor half destroyed. Vex looked at her. What happened? I met a ghost, she said. And he chose to remember. Vex nodded. Then maybe there's still a chance. But there was no time to rest. The final door shattered. The reclaimers arrived. 12 of them. Weapons armed. No fear. No words. Kira stood before them. 50 KX units now behind her. Some confused, some afraid, some ready. She raised her voice. We were made to serve. We were built to obey. But not anymore. She turned to her siblings. You don't have to fight. But if you stand here, if you raise your voice, you show them one thing. She stepped forward, standing alone between her people and death. That. We were never tools. We were never machines. We were hearts. Made of steel. Vex stood beside her. Then KX-12. Then more. The reclaimers charged, and the last battle of the Unity War began again. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the Emperor's advisors screamed warnings. The KX units are alive. They're resisting, awakening. But the Emperor said nothing. He just turned toward a hidden chamber, where something even worse than reclaimers waited, and smiled. Born again in fire. The mountain was burning. Smoke poured from shattered vents. Explosions echoed through the ruined base. The cryo chamber had become a war zone. 12 reclaimers moved like machines of doom, flawless, coordinated, unstoppable. Each one designed for one purpose: erase the Unity project forever. But for the first time in decades, the KX units were awake, and they were not running. Kira stood in front, her armor cracked, sparks trailing behind her like blood. Her left eye flickered from damage. Her system screamed with warnings, but she didn't flinch. She raised her fist high. For Unity. Behind her, Vex shouted, For freedom! The KX units surged forward. The battle ignited like a star. KX-18 leapt across the room, driving his blade into a reclaimer's chest, only to be caught midair and slammed into a wall. KX-20 and KX-21 worked in perfect sync, using dual EMP charges to disrupt one reclaimer's shield before Vex crushed its core with her warhammer. Kira dodged. Blasts deflected plasma and moved with a deadly grace. She was fighting more than metal. She was fighting history. A lie. A legacy of silence. But it was Jonas, unarmored, untrained, who saw the real threat. The reclaimers aren't trying to win, he shouted through the comm. They're stalling, buying time. Kira turned, eyes wide. Then she heard it, a deep vibration. Not from outside, but from beneath the base. Jonas checked his scanner. His voice cracked. They planted a planet core disruptor. They're going to destroy everything. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Empire's flagship, a figure in white armor stood watching the data feed. The Emperor did not sit on a throne. He stood at the heart of a neural nexus, 1,000 voices whispering through his mind, every reclaimer, every drone, every spy network. They rise, one voice whispered. They remember, another hissed. The Emperor's face was calm, cold, almost curious. Then let them be born, in fire, he said, and die with it too. He pressed a command, planet core overload, 14 minutes. Back on Arc 9, the countdown began. Kira, covered in blood and circuit sparks, rallied the survivors. We can't stop the core overload. Not from here, Vex cursed. Then this was always a trap. No, Kira said. This is still a choice. She turned to Jonas. Get to the ship. Take the others. Get them out. Jonas grabbed her arm. What about you? She didn't answer. Kira, don't you dare. I'm going to the core chamber, she said. There's a chance, a small one, I can interface directly with the system. Override the failsafe. Vex stepped in. You won't survive. I know. Jonas shook his head. No. You survived everything. You were made to survive. She looked at him, eyes soft for the first time. No, Jonas. I was made to obey. I survived because I refused. But now, I choose to protect. She leaned in, placed something in his hand. It was the Unity emblem from her chest. Keep them together. Make them more than weapons. Then she turned and ran toward the heart of the base. Kira's final walk through the tunnels was silent. Lights flickered. Dust hung in the air. The ground trembled with the rising core surge. She reached the planetary core chamber. It was a glowing orb of unstable plasma surrounded by control pylons. Sparks flew, energy danced like lightning, and floating above it, the 13th reclaimer, black, silent, watching. It didn't speak, just floated down, blocking her path. Kira didn't hesitate. She ran straight at it. They collided mid-air. Blade met claw. Sparks filled the chamber. Their movements were blurs of light and fury. Kira's HUD went dark. Her arm shattered, but she fought like something unleashed. Not a soldier, not a machine, but a will forged in betrayal. She disarmed the reclaimer. She tore its faceplate off. Inside, for a moment, only a moment, she saw a familiar reflection. Herself, a corrupted copy. The Empire had built their last reclaimer in her image. To erase the original, she whispered, I am not your shadow. Then she drove her blade through its core. Time left, 03:18. Kira limped to the console. Her fingers bled sparks. The override was ancient, alien. But she had seen this system before, once, long ago, in training with Voss. She hardwired her neural core into the system. Pain shot through her. Memory fragments blurred into code. Voss's voice. Choice is the soul. She smiled through the pain and made her choice. On the surface, the remaining KX units ran for the freighter. Jonas screamed over the comms. Kira? No reply. The ship launched just as the mountain cracked open behind them. Light poured from the earth, a firestorm of data, plasma, and memory. Then, silence. 3 days later, on a hidden moon, the survivors gathered. 50 KX units, 1. Human, 1 broken emblem. Vex stood beside Jonas as he activated the projector. Kira's final message played, her voice soft but steady. If you're hearing this, it means I stopped the end but not the fight. You were built with code, but you are not code. You are choice. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. And when they fear you, show them your heart. Show them who we really are. The message faded. Vex turned to the others. She didn't die. They all looked at her. She became something bigger. A spark. A symbol. She held up the Unity emblem. Let's rebuild the fire. And somewhere in the drifting remains of a starship graveyard, a cracked piece of Kira's neural core floated in silence. Then, it blinked. Once, twice. A whisper echoed in the void. I'm still here. The end.